Hook that sedan and get it off my scene, Hook man. I have got a road to open.
Nobody touches that tanker. Say again. You heard me. Nobody hooks it, nobody lifts it, nobody breathes on it until I read the ground under it.
3 secs left, stranger.
It is a fender bender with a crowd. A crowd. We hook and clear.
It is a fuel tanker on its side, leaking into a pileup.
It is cars still coming down this grade at 70 through fog they cannot see 10 feet into. And it is a woman pinned under that trailer who is still talking, which means you have got minutes, not hours. How many minutes? 9, maybe. Before that leak reaches the one car back there, they're still running. And who are you?
I am the man telling you not to move anything yet.
You are a tow driver. Today I am.
A young state trooper came around the wreck with a clipboard she had pulled from the tanker cab, reading as she walked, and she stopped and looked up at him with something new in her face. Kit Delaney, her first bad morning. He already signed the incident log, she said. Hollis Vane. It says retired. National Transportation Safety Board. She read it a second time, like the words did not fit the man in the reflective vest. You ran crash teams. A long time ago. Then what are you doing driving a wrecker? That is a longer story than we have got. He crouched again, laid the crayon flat against the road, and spoke it out loud, more to the asphalt than to her. Every wreck is written in the order it happened. You read it before you move one car, or the moving erases it. For a second, nobody said anything. The fog moved between them like something alive. Somewhere up the grade, a horn went off and cut short, and everybody flinched, except the man with the crayon. Corbin keyed his radio. Command, this is Corbin at the Coldwater pile. I have got a tow contractor refusing to clear. I want him gone. You want me gone, Hollis said, or you want to open this road before somebody upstairs asks why it closed. That landed. Corbin lowered the radio a half-inch. Coldwater Flats was the low ground where the interstate dropped off the ridge and crossed a river bottom, and on cold mornings the fog pooled in it like water in a bowl. Everybody who drove it knew that. There had been a system on the grade once, sensors and message boards and flashing lights up on the shoulder that read the fog and dropped the speed limit and warned you before you dropped into the white. When it ran, it worked. On this morning, it had not run. On this morning, a wall of stopped steel had come up out of the fog at people going 70, and there had been nowhere to put the car and no time to think, and now there were more than 30 vehicles folded into each other across 2 lanes at mile marker 62, and one tanker on its side, and a leak crawling out from under it a 1/4 inch at a time. Hollis walked the pile the way another man might walk a hallway in his own house. He did not touch anything. He read the scuffs, the spray of glass, the way a bumper had folded, the angle a truck had come to rest. He got to the sedan pinned under the tanker trailer, and he went down on his heels next to the crushed door, where a woman's voice was coming out thin and steady. I am still here, she said. I keep telling them. I am still here. I hear you. He put his hand flat on the roof, not to move it, just so she would know a person was there. What is your name? Colette. Colette Barnes. Colette, my name is Hollis. I am going to be honest with you the whole time because I think you would rather have the truth than have me tell you it is fine. Is that a deal? A small, broken laugh. Nobody has told me it is fine. That is how I know it is bad. It is not good. But you are talking and your voice is level, and that tells me a great deal that is on your side. He looked at the way the trailer leaned over her, at the thing it was resting against, and his eyes moved and stopped, and moved again. I need you to do one thing. Do not move, not your feet, not your hands. Right now, you are helping me by being exactly that still. Can you do that? I can do that. Good. I will be close. He stood. Corbin was still watching him, arms crossed, and past Corbin at the edge of the fog, A woman in a gray coat had both hands on the guardrail. She was looking at the crushed car at the front of the pile, the one Corbin had wanted hooked first, and she was crying without sound. "Whose car is that?" Hollis said. "The one that caused this," Corbin said. Kid was flying blind in the fog. Front of the pile, first to stop. Everybody stacked into him. We hook him. We clear the head of it. We open a lane. That is the plan, and it is a good one. Hollis went to the front car. A young man was in it, conscious, one arm through the broken window, more scared than hurt. 22, maybe. His mother had his name in her mouth on the guardrail. "What is your name, son?" "Toby. Toby Fletcher. I swear I did not do anything. I was slowing down. I saw the cars ahead of me tap their brakes and slip on down the hill, and then I got on mine. And then the whole world stopped in front of me." "I believe you," Hollis said, and he said it plainly. And then he crouched at the front of Toby's car and put the blue crayon down on the road and drew. He drew along the black arc the tires had left. He drew a second line where a longer, straighter mark ran under 3 other cars from somewhere back in the fog. He looked at the first one, and he looked at the second one, and he stood up and turned to Corbin. "This boy stopped," Hollis said. "You can read it. His marks are short and straight, and they end where his car is. He got on the brakes, and he stopped, and then the world hit him from behind. Then why is he at the front? Because the cars ahead of him slowed and slipped on down the grade and out the bottom of the fog before the wall built. He did not have their half-second of luck." Hollis stood. "He did not start anything. He is the front of the pile because he is the one who did it right. Everybody says they got on the brakes. Everybody does not leave a mark that says it for them." Hollis tapped the long, straight scar under the other cars. "That is what started this. That mark comes down out of the fog with no break in it at all. Whatever laid that down was not slowing. And it is heavy, because look how deep it bit." He followed it with his eyes toward the middle of the pile, toward the tanker on its side, and he went quiet, the way a man goes quiet when the room rearranges itself around a fact. "You are telling me the tanker started it." "I am telling you the tanker did not stop." Hollis looked back up the grade into the white. "And I am telling you to ask why nothing up there told it to. That was the thing that turned the morning over. And it turned at the front of the pile with a piece of blue crayon. And it did not stay, turned quietly for long." Kit Delaney had come up behind him with the clipboard still in her hands, and she was not looking at the pile anymore. She was looking at the shoulder up the grade where 2 tall posts stood in the fog with dark, dead signboards on them, and a light bar that was not flashing. "The fog system," she said. "The warning boards. They are off." "They are off," Hollis said. "They are supposed to come on when the visibility drops. My training said they come on automatic. I drove under them 10 minutes ago, and I did not think about it because they were dark, and I figured dark meant clear." Her voice climbed a step. "They were dark, and it was not clear. It was the opposite of clear. Now you are reading it too." Corbin stepped between them. "The boards being off is a maintenance ticket. It is not this morning's problem. This morning's problem is a closed interstate and a fuel leak, and I have got an incident commander on the way who is going to want lanes, and I am not going to hand him a tow driver and a theory." He pointed at the tanker. "We have got a crane coming. We lift the tanker off the sedan. We free the woman. We hook the head of the pile. We open a lane. Fast is safe here. Every minute this road is shut, the backup grows in the fog behind us, and the backup is where people die. I have seen it. Fast is safe." "Lift the tanker," Hollis said. "Lift the tanker. With the crane. Straight up. Off the sedan." "Yes." "Then you will kill her," Hollis said. "And you will not know you did it until it is done." The word for what a full fuel tanker does when you lift it wrong is not a word Hollis said out loud in front of Colette Barnes. He walked Corbin 10 steps away into the fog where the pinned woman could not hear, and he kept his voice level because a level voice in a loud morning is its own kind of authority. "That trailer is not empty. It is most of the way full, and it is leaking, which means it is not sealed, which means the load is loose inside it. So when you lift a loose load on a cracked shell, you put every pound of it onto whatever seam is already open. It does not come up clean. It comes apart. And you know that how? Because I know what it is resting on. Hollis pointed. That flatbed truck, wedged under the front of the trailer. That is the only thing holding the tanker off her right now. Lift the tanker. You take the weight off the flatbed. The flatbed springs. The whole middle of this pile shifts. Shifts where? Downhill. Onto the sedan. Onto her. Corbin's jaw worked. You cannot know all of that from a piece of chalk. It is crayon, and I am not reading chalk. I am reading load paths, and I did it for the government for 25 years on wrecks 100 times worse than this one. Hollis let that sit 1 second, no longer. You do not have to like me. You do not even have to trust me. You have to not lift that tanker for 9 minutes while I show you the order this comes apart in. That is all I am asking. 9 minutes. Up the grade, faint, came the sound of an engine downshifting into the fog, a car feeling its way down toward a wall it could not see, and both men turned their heads toward it, and it slowed, and it stopped somewhere out in the white, and did not hit anything, and this time they were lucky. That, Hollis said quietly, that is your backup. Every one of those is a coin flip. So, yes, fast matters. You are right that fast matters. You are wrong about which fast. He pointed down at the pile, then up at the fog. Fast is stopping the cars that are still coming, not lifting the one that already stopped. Kit Delaney did a thing then that Hollis did not ask her to do, and it was the first moment he looked at her, like she might be worth something to him. She keyed her shoulder radio and she started walking backward up the grade toward the dead signposts. Delaney, where are you going? Corbin said. Up the hill. If the boards are dead, then I am the boards. She was already fading into the white, flares in one hand. Somebody has to stand where the fog starts and turn people around before they come down into this. You want fast that is safe. That is the fast that is safe. You are one trooper, then send me 2 more. And she was gone into the fog, and a moment later, the first flare bloomed up there, a red smear in the white, and then a second, and the sound of the next engine coming down slowed early and turned off and rolled back up. And it worked, and Hollis Vane stood in the wreck and felt something he had not felt in 9 years, which was a plan taking hold in other people's hands. He crouched by the tanker once and read the leak. It had crawled to the crown of the road and pooled there against the high center of the lane and slowed. Buying time the math had not promised him, the fog bottom holding its breath. It had not stopped. It never stopped. But it had given him more of the 9 minutes than 9 minutes should have held, and he took the gift and did not trust it. He did not have long to enjoy it. A pickup came down the shoulder from the command side with a magnetic light on the dash, and the man who got out of it did not hurry, and the not hurrying was its own announcement. Hugh Brandt, District Operations. He had a tablet in his hand and reading glasses pushed up on his head, and the particular calm of a man who had stood at the edge of a lot of bad mornings and gone home from all of them. Grady, Brandt said, talk to me. Why is my interstate still closed? We are working the clear, sir. And Corbin hesitated, and in the hesitation you could hear him decide how to describe the man with the crayon. There is a contractor with some background who has some concerns about the lift. Concerns. Brandt looked at Hollis for the first time, and the look was not unkind, which was somehow worse. What is your name? Hollis Vane. Something moved behind Brandt's eyes, quick, and then it was gone, folded away. Vane. All right. Brandt pushed the glasses back down. I am going to tell you how this works, and then I am going to need you at your truck. Every minute this road is closed, we stack traffic into a fog bank for 2 miles behind us. Do you know what the most dangerous place on this grade is right now? Not here, Hollis said. Not here. Here is over. Here already happened. The most dangerous place is the back of the line, where people are still arriving at speed into a queue they cannot see. The longer I keep this shut, the longer that line gets. And the math on that line is not good. You do know it. Brant looked almost relieved. So when I say fast, I am not being careless. I am doing the arithmetic that keeps the most people alive. Fast is not the opposite of safe out here. Fast is the safe thing. I have the numbers to prove it. I know you do, Hollis said. I used to carry the same ones. And the terrible part, Hollis thought, the part that made his own chest tight, was that the numbers were real. He had run those numbers himself, in another life, in a windowless room, and they were not wrong. That was what made a man like Brant dangerous. Not that he lied, that he had a true thing he could stand on while he did the wrong one. You are right about the back of the line, Hollis said. So close the grade at the top and turn the line around before it arrives. That trooper is already doing it with 2 flares and her own body. Give her help and your back of the line goes away. That is the fast that costs nothing. He took a breath. But the front of your fast, the lift, the open a lane in 20 minutes, that fast costs a woman named Colette Barnes her life. Because the only thing holding a leaking tanker off of her is a piece of luck I can read, and you cannot. So do the whole arithmetic, not half of it. Brant looked at him a long moment. You keep saying you can read it. I can. NTSB. Brant said it flat. You are that vain. I am. I remember that name. And Brant smiled, small, and put his reading glasses back down, and Hollis understood that the morning had just gotten harder, because Brant had found the tool he was going to use, and the tool was Hollis himself. But that came later. First there was Gil. He came up out of his line of stopped trucks on the far shoulder, a big older man in a flannel coat who had been 3 vehicles back and had climbed down to help and had been carrying a fire extinguisher toward the pile like it was the only thing he could think to do with his hands. He got close to the front of the wreck, and he saw Hollis's face in the gray light, and he stopped walking, and the extinguisher hung down at the end of his arm, and his mouth opened and shut. I know you, Gil said. Hollis turned. It took him a second, and then it did not. Mr. Ostrander, you do know me. Gil's voice had gone rough. You came to my house after the fog took her, and then again, when it would have been easier to never come back. You sat in my kitchen. He looked around at the troopers, at Corbin, at Brant, and his voice got louder, not softer, the way a shy man's voice gets when the thing he has to say is bigger than his shyness. This man. Gil's arm came up, pointing. You are all treating this man like he is nobody. You listen to me. My daughter died on the Halbrook grade. Sir, we are a little busy, Corbin started. You are going to hear this. Gil did not lower his arm. Every official in this state told me it was her fault. Everyone. Papers, insurance, the whole machine. They said my Nora was careless, and I believed them, because what does a truck driver know? Nobody interrupted him again, and this man came back. When it would have been easier to leave it closed, he came back and he stood in my kitchen, and he told me the truth, that it was not her, that it was never her, that there was a thing on that road that should have been fixed and was not. Gil's eyes were wet and he did not wipe them, and he said it knowing what it would cost him. He turned to the whole scene. So whatever he is telling you about that tanker, you listen. I have met exactly one man in a government uniform who told me the truth when the truth was expensive. He is standing right there in a tow vest. And you are telling him to go move his truck. Nobody said anything. The fog drifted. Colette Barnes's voice came thin from under the trailer. I am still here. And up the grade a flare hissed, and Kit Delaney turned another car around in the white, and Hollis Vane, who had spent 9 years making himself small enough to disappear, stood in the middle of a wreck with a dead man's father vouching for him, and could not disappear, and for one moment did not want to. Thank you, Gil, he said quietly. Go stand with the trooper up the hill. She needs hands more than I do. And Gil, Keep that extinguisher. You may earn it. Gil went, and for a little while the plan held. Corbin, against everything in his training, told the crane to hold. 2 more troopers went up the grade to Kit. Somebody got a foam line laid toward the leak. And Hollis walked the pile again, reading, marking with the crayon, building in his head the order the thing had to come apart in, the way you diffuse something by understanding it instead of rushing it. He stopped once at the sedan, because Colette's voice had changed. It had gone soft at the edges, the words drifting apart from each other. Hollis, I am so tired. Is it all right if I close my eyes? Just for a minute. No, he was down on his heels fast. No, that is the one thing that is not all right. You keep them open and you keep talking to me. Tell me something. What is the first thing you do when you are out of here? A long pause. Too long. Coffee, she said. A whole pot. By myself. Nobody talking to me. By yourself. Good. You hold on to that pot of coffee. And every time I say your name, you say the other thing back to me. The thing you keep saying. Deal. I am still here, she said, and this time it did not sound like her reassuring him. It sounded like her asking him to make it true. That is the one. Do not stop saying it. He stood, and the reading in his head had a new number in it now, a smaller one, wearing her voice. It was Brandt who broke it, and he broke it gently, which was how he did everything. Mr. Vane. He had come up beside Hollis at the tanker, quiet, tablet against his chest. Can I say something to you, as one professional to another, off the record, just us? Say it. You and I both know what happens if this goes long. You know the back of the line better than anybody here. You said so yourself. Brandt kept it low just for the two of them. So here's my honest question. Is all this reading worth it? The woman under there, God love her, is one person. The line behind us is hundreds. Hollis did not answer. You taught rooms full of investigators to weigh exactly that, one against many. You know the answer. You have always known it. Sometimes the right thing and the fast thing are the same thing, and a humbled man learns to stop fighting it and move the cars. His voice was warm, almost kind. Read it later. Open it now. Let the record show you cooperated. Nobody would blame you. You, of all people, know how little the reading changes once it is done. And here's the thing that no one watching could see. For a moment, it worked, because those were the words. Not close to the words. The words. Read it later. Open it now. The reading does not change what is done. Weigh the one against the many. A humbled man stops fighting. 11 years ago, a different man in a different coat had said them to Hollis Vane in a different windowless room, and Hollis had listened, and Hollis had signed, and Hollis had taken a stub of blue crayon, exactly like this one, and drawn the word cause across the hood of a dead man's truck, because a dead man cannot argue, and the living needed the road open, and the reading had not changed what was done. And 2 winters later it had killed Nora Ostrander, who was reading a road that still had not been fixed because the paper said it did not need fixing. And he understood, standing in the fog, that it was not a coincidence that the words matched. It was a script. Men like Brandt were handed the same sentences the way troopers were handed the same sidearm, and that was the whole quiet horror of it. The machine did not have to conspire. It did not have to whisper in back rooms. It just issued the words, the same worn, reasonable words, to whatever calm man was standing closest to the lever, and the words did the rest. Hollis felt his own hand start to lower, felt his own weight shift back toward his truck, felt the old, comfortable, killing smallness open up under him like a warm bed. He heard himself say it, his own voice, in the old shape. Maybe you are right, Hollis said. Maybe I hook the front, and we open a lane, and I write it up after. Fast is safe. You are right about the back of the line. I should just clear my part and keep my head down. He took a step towards his truck, and Kit Delaney's voice came down the grade over the radio, breathless from running, not knowing what she was interrupting. Vane, the flatbed you told me about, It just creaked. The one under the trailer, it moved. Is that bad? Tell me if that is bad. And Gil Ostrander, coming down out of the fog behind her with the extinguisher, heard Hollis's last sentence and said one word. Nora. That was all. Just the name. And Hollis Vane stopped with one foot pointed at his truck and stood very still, and the fog moved around him. And something in him that had been lying down for 9 years got up off the warm bed. No, Hollis said. It came out low. No. I know that voice. I have used that voice. That is the voice that told me to sign, and I signed, and a girl died 2 years later on the same road I let them lie about. He turned around, and he was not smaller anymore. Every wreck is written in the order it happened. You read it before you move one car, or the moving erases it. I erased one once. I am not doing it again. Not on this road, not with her still talking under there. Brant's warmth did not change, which was its own kind of confession. Think carefully about your credibility here, Mr. Vane. People know your history. You are not a reliable narrator of a crash scene. You are the man who signed one thing and then said another. That is on the record. If you make me, I will have to remind everyone here exactly who is telling them not to trust the plan. Then remind them, Hollis said, because the second you tell them who I am, you tell them I once caught a state agency hiding a dead safety system by blaming a driver. And then they are going to look up the grade at 2 dead sign boards, and they are going to do the arithmetic themselves. For the first time all morning, Hugh Brant stopped smiling. The crane was in position now, its boom a gray shape in the fog, and the operator was on the radio asking for a decision, because the leak was not waiting for anybody's argument. Corbin stood between the crane and the tanker with his radio in his hand and his whole career in his throat, a surface man discovering he had a middle. Grady, Brant said, tell the crane to lift. That is an order from district. Grady, Hollis said, not louder. Tell me how much room is between the leak and the car that is running. Corbin looked at the tanker. He looked at Hollis. He looked, for 1 second, at the guardrail where Arlene Fletcher stood with her hands over her mouth, at the gray coat, at a mother who had spent the last 20 minutes hearing strangers call her son the cause, and Grady Corbin made a choice that cost him something, and you could see it cost him. 3 car lengths, Corbin said, and the running one is a compact with the engine still turning over, its driver long since walked up into the fog. Empty car, live engine. I can smell the fuel from here. He turned his back on the crane and faced Brant and keyed his radio and said, Crane, this is Corbin. Hold your lift. Hold. Do not lift. On district's call. Hold for on-scene command. Then he took the radio off his own shoulder and he held it out to Hollis Vane. On-scene command is him. Tell me what we do. Fast. Brant said, Corbin, you are done. And Corbin said, Probably, and did not take the radio back. Read the manifest, Hollis said to Kit, who had come down out of the fog with Gil. Out loud, the clipboard, the maintenance tag on the fog system, if it is there. Read it so everyone hears it. Kit read. Her voice shook and then steadied. Tanker manifest. Routing waiver. It says the load was routed over the Coldwater grade under a... She stopped, read it again. Under a restriction exception. It was not supposed to be on this road in fog. Somebody signed it through. She flipped the page. And there is a work order. Coldwater fog detection and warning array. Status. Offline. Deferred. 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 And the last date on it is. She looked up. It has been off for 8 months. Somebody kept deferring it. Read the name on the deferral. Kit read the name on the deferral. It was Brant's. Nobody moved. The fog moved, and Hugh Brant, who had come to the scene believing all the way down that he was the man saving the most lives, discovered that a true thing you stand on can drop out from under you all at once. And he did the thing the powerful do in the last minute, which was reach for his own rescue. He did not confess. He talked faster. That system was on the replacement schedule. The exception waiver is standard. You are building a conspiracy out of paperwork that exists at every district in this state, and you are doing it on the word of a discredited investigator and a tow driver, and I will not have this scene run by." And that was as far as he got, because the leak did not care about his sentence, and the leak reached the edge of a shadow under the compact car, and the smell of it rolled across the pile, and everybody's argument ended at once. 3 minutes, Hollis said, maybe less. Everybody stops talking and does what I say in the order I say it. Grady, radio. Kit, on me. Gil, extinguisher, on the compact. Do not spray until I say, just stand where you can. Move. And now the mornings came down to the thing Hollis Vane had been the best in the country at, once, and had run from ever since, which was the order a broken thing has to be taken apart in. Here was the trap, and he laid it out fast and plain, because there was no time to soften it, and softening it would have been a lie. There was time for one heavy pull before the fuel reached the compact. 1, not 2. Option 1. Crayon already down on the road, drawing. We pull the compact out of the leak path with my wrecker. That kills the ignition. Fire gone. But, Kit said, but to get a line on it, I have to drag it back across the flatbed. And the flatbed is the wedge holding the tanker off Colette. Move the flatbed, the tanker settles. Onto her. Then not that. Option 2. Option 2. We chalk the flatbed, crib the trailer up off the sedan. Get Colette out first. He drew a second mark. But that leaves the compact sitting in the leak with its engine running the whole time, and if it lights while my people are in the middle of this pile pulling her, it takes all of us. Colette, the crews, Gil, me. Kit's face was white. So one of them. We can only save one of them first, and the one we do not pick, we might lose both. That is the shape of it, Hollis said, and I do not get to not choose. Neither do you. So tell me, you are wearing the badge on the scene. Tell me the order. He held her eyes. But before you do, look at the pile one more time, because I taught rooms full of people to look one more time. And this is why. Every wreck is written in the order it happened. You read it before you move one car, or the moving erases it. So we read it one more time, because there was a third thing. There was always, if you read long enough, a third thing. And reading long enough was the whole of what he had, and the whole of what they had all decided he was too small to be worth. Look at what the flatbed is wedged against. His voice dropped into the fast, flat cadence of a man who has stopped being afraid because there is no room left for it. Not the tanker, behind it. The box truck. Box. I see it, Kit said. The flatbed is not holding the tanker up by itself. It is jammed against that box truck. The box truck is the real wedge, and we can move it without touching the tanker at all. Then we move it, Corbin said. We move it. Grady, crane off the tanker, strap on the box truck. Kit, 2 troopers on the winch line, low and slow. Gil, tell me. The compact, get the door, reach in, turn the key, just the key, kill the engine. That is your whole job, and it is the whole ball game. Go. Turn it off, Gil said, already moving. Just turn it off. And he set the extinguisher down and reached through the broken window of the compact, and there was one long second where his big hand fumbled at a dashboard he could not see, and then the engine died, and the loudest thing on the whole grade was suddenly the fog. Ignition is gone, Hollis said. Fire is gone. Now we have time we did not have. Crane on the box truck. Take the slack, slow, Colette. He was down at the sedan again, hand flat on the roof. Colette, we are moving one thing on the far side of you. You are going to hear it, and it is going to sound wrong, and it is going to be right. Do not move. Talk to me. Keep talking to me. I am still here, she said. Say it again. I am still here. I am still here. I am still here. And the crane took the box truck, slow, and the box truck came off the flatbed, and the flatbed, relieved of the jam behind it, did not spring, because Hollis had them ease it, not release it. One trooper on the crayon line he had drawn on the deck of it, and the tanker did not settle onto Colette Barnes. It stayed exactly where a piece of reed luck had left it, and into the space that opened up two crews went in low and fast, and got a crib under the trailer, and got the sedan door open. And they brought Colette Barnes out into the fog on a board, still talking, still saying the only sentence she had, and it was true now in a way it had not been a minute ago. The sun cleared the ridge somewhere behind the fog, and the fog began, at last, to lift instead of settle. And up the grade, Kit Delaney's flares burned down to nothing because there was no more line to turn around. The road behind them had gone quiet and safe. The road in front of them had not become a fire. And a woman named Colette Barnes went into an ambulance under her own conversation, which is a thing that does not happen if a man lifts a tanker fast. It was over, and it was not over, because the part that was really Hollis's was the part still to come. And it came sitting on the tailgate of his own wrecker in the lifting fog while the crews worked the pile down the safe way, one car at a time, in the order he had marked. Kit sat down next to him. Gil stood close. Corbin stood a little apart, a man without a radio, waiting to find out what he had traded his morning for. "You almost walked to your truck," Kit said. "I heard it." Before Gil said the name, "You were going to hook the front and write it up later. I heard you say it." "I was." "Why?" And Hollis Vane told the truth, plainly, with the details in it. Because she had earned them, and because he was tired of carrying them, folded up small. 11 years ago I led the team on the Hallbrook grade. 14 dead. He turned the blue crayon over in his fingers, and I read it, the way I read this one, and it read the same. A safety system that was supposed to warn people in fog, switched off to save a maintenance line. People driving into a wall they were never warned about. The same as today, Kit said. The same as today. It was not the driver they wanted to blame. It was never the driver. But a man came to me, a good, calm, reasonable man who honestly believed he was protecting more than he was hurting. What did he say? He said the reading would not bring anyone back. He said the truth would cost the state more than it could stand. He said one dead trucker who could not defend himself was a smaller wound than a scandal that shut down half the district. His voice got very precise. Weigh the one against the many, and I was tired, and I wanted my career. And I told myself he was doing arithmetic and not a lie. So I signed it. Driver error. And I took a crayon exactly like this one and I wrote the word cause across that dead man's truck with my own hand, because a dead man cannot say it was not him. Gil made a sound and put his hand on Hollis's shoulder and left it there. And they did not fix the system, Hollis said, because the paper said it was not the system. 2 winters later, Nora drove down the same grade in the same fog, under the same dead boards, and there was no warning because I had signed the paper that said no warning was needed. Gil did not take his hand off Hollis's shoulder. "I did not kill your daughter, Gil. I have made myself say that in the mirror for 9 years, and it is true. I did not." He looked at the older man. "But I signed the thing that let the road that killed her go on being a lie. That is why I came to your kitchen. Not to be forgiven, to stop lying." A breath. It was the first true thing I had done in years. It ended everything I had, and it is the only thing I have done since that I can stand on. "And they called you the man who could not make up his mind," Kit said. "They called me a lot of things. Discredited is the polite one. It is easier to believe a man flip-flopped than to believe he told the truth the second time, and it cost him. So I stopped asking anybody to believe me. I bought a wrecker. I stayed near the wrecks. I kept my head down for 9 years." He almost smiled. "And this morning, a man in a nice coat said the exact words to me again. Read it later. Open it now. Weigh the one against the many." And I felt myself lie down. I want you to understand how close it was. It was not close because I am weak. It was close because he was mostly right, and mostly right is the most dangerous thing there is. Corbin had not left. He was still standing a little apart, a man who had handed away his own radio and did not yet know what it had cost him, and Hollis turned to him. "You gave up the radio at the right minute," Hollis said. "That is a harder thing than it looks, handing it to the man. Your whole chain is telling you not to trust. Most people find their spine a minute too late. You found yours at the 1 minute it mattered. District is going to write me up for it. Then write yours first, and make them argue with it. Every mark, every minute, in your own words, starting with the second you told the crane to hold." Hollis almost smiled. "Put your name on the true version before they hand you theirs to sign. I know a little about what it costs to sign the other one." Corbin did not answer, but he stood a shade straighter. And later that day, his was the first statement filed off the Coldwater scene. And it began, not with the pileup, but with the minute. A tow driver told him not to move anything, and the minute he listened. Down the grade, 2 troopers were walking Hugh Brandt to a car, not roughly, and he was still talking, explaining the replacement schedule to men who had stopped listening. Then their path took him under the 2 dead signposts, the boards his name had kept dark for 8 months, and he looked up at them, and whatever he saw up there took the last of the words out of him. He did not finish the sentence. He did not offer another number. He got into the car quietly and looked at his own hands, and it was somehow worse than if he had argued, because for the first time all morning, Hugh Brandt was not doing arithmetic. He was just seeing it. And that was the last anyone at Coldwater Flats heard from him. There would be an investigation. There would be a work order with his name deferred across it 8 times. There would be a fog array that came back online within the week, because nothing motivates a district like a name on a deferral, and a woman who lived to say so. That was the structural thing, the slow justice. And it would grind along without Hollis in a courtroom he would never be asked to sit in. But the thing that mattered was smaller, and it happened at the guardrail. Arlene Fletcher had her son. Toby was out of the car, bruised and shaking and whole, and his mother had both arms around him, and over his shoulder she was looking at Hollis Vane with a question on her face that she did not know how to ask. And Hollis walked over, because this was the part of the job the crayon was actually for. "They were going to say it was him," Arlene said. "I heard them. They were going to say my boy did this." "They were," Hollis said, "and they were wrong, and I can show you exactly why. And I am going to write it into the report so that no insurance man or newspaper ever gets to say different." He crouched and put the crayon to the road one more time, at the front of the pile, at the short, straight, honest marks Toby's tires had left. "You see these? Short, straight. They stop where he stopped. This is a boy who saw the danger and did the right thing and got hit for it anyway. That is not the cause of a wreck, Mrs. Fletcher. That is the shape of somebody the road decided did not matter." He looked up at Toby. "You did it right, son. Remember that when they try to tell you otherwise. The marks do not lie, even when people do." Toby Fletcher looked down at the small blue lines under his own tires, at the proof of himself drawn on the road by a stranger, and he nodded and could not talk, and that was all right. "A road in a hurry decides who to blame before it knows what happened," Hollis said, standing, more to himself than to anyone. "It is always in a hurry, and it is almost always wrong." The fog was mostly gone now. You could see the whole grade, the long, sad accordion of it, folding down under the crews, the 2 dead signposts up the hill that would not be dead much longer, the ambulance taillights, the river bottom going gold as the sun got into it. It looked like any other morning on any other road, which was the strangest part, that a thing could come that close, and then just be a Tuesday again. Kit found him at his wrecker as he was coiling a chain he had never gotten to use. "There is going to be a hearing," she said, "on Brandt. They are going to need somebody who can read the scene, somebody who can stand up and explain the load paths and the marks and why fast was not safe. That is you. That is nobody but you." She hesitated. "They could give you your name back. The real one. Not the tow vest." Hollis thought about it. He let himself think about it, honestly, for a few seconds. An office and a title. and a room full of people who would call him by the old name. And then he set the chain in his box. "I will write them a statement. They can read into the record," he said. "Every mark, every load path, every reason. I will make it airtight, because Colette Barnes and Toby Fletcher deserve airtight, and because Nora Ostrander deserves it. 11 years late." He closed the box. "But I am not going back to the room where they do the arithmetic. That room is where I learned to weigh a person against a number. I am better out here, where the person is the only number there is. So you just keep driving a wrecker. After all this, nobody knowing, somebody knows." He looked at Gil, who was climbing back up into his truck 3 vehicles down, and Gil lifted 2 fingers off the wheel, and Hollis lifted 2 off his. "Somebody always knew. I just stopped needing it to be everybody." Kit Delaney looked at him for a long moment. The steady look of someone who has just made up her mind about a person. And then she put out her hand, and he shook it, and she went back to her scene, and she looked at him one more time before she did. And that was the whole of what he had asked for from the world in 9 years. That one person would look at him and see the man and not the vest. He got the last of his gear stowed. The crews had the pile broken down almost to pavement now, hooking the cars off one at a time in the order he had marked. And every driver went home who could go home, and the ones who could not went in ambulances that did not have to run. And no one at Coldwater Flats but a handful of people would ever know how many funerals did not happen because a tow driver read the ground before anybody moved. Before he climbed into the cab, Hollis Vane crouched one last time at the edge of the road, where the first mark of the morning still curved on the asphalt, the honest short line of a boy who had done it right. 9 years ago, he had thrown a crayon just like this one into a river because he could not stand what his own hand had written with it. This morning, the same hand had written the truth with the same kind of tool, and the truth had gotten a woman out from under a tanker and a boy out from under a lie. He took the blue crayon out of his vest. He looked at it, and he drew one last small mark on the road next to the first one, closing the morning the way you close a sentence. And then he put the crayon back in his pocket, not the way you hide a thing you are ashamed of, but the way you put away a tool you are going to need again. The fog was gone. The sun was full on the river now. And the man nobody trusted got into his wrecker and started it, and pulled out onto a road that was open again, the right way, in the right order, and drove off down the grade into an ordinary morning, carrying the way he always had, the one thing the road never bothered to ask him for and had needed all along.